channel. So today I have for you another makeup video, and this video was requested by one of my lovely viewers, Enid. I hope I'm saying your name right. I'm so sorry if I'm not. But basically she said that she couldn't believe I had really dark under eye circles because it didn't really seem like that on my videos, and she requested for me to show my routine to cover my under eye darkness. So this has been featured in a lot of my makeup tutorials and I have gone through it, but like my eyebrow routine, I thought I would do a specially dedicated video just to this so that you guys can get a clear idea and I can go in a lot of detail as to how I cover my under eye darkness. I know in a lot of cases in my videos you can't really see them. I obviously put artificial lighting in my videos because otherwise you wouldn't be able to see me properly. So unfortunately that light kind of bounces on my face and it makes it look like I have kind of beautiful, perfect skin with no under eye darkness. So I'm going to try and dim the lights as much as possible so that you can see it as properly as possible. But I do have quite a lot of darkness and it is quite brownish underneath my eyes. So without further ado, let's get straight into the routine. I'm going to show you exactly what steps I do to kind of cover these and make them look absolutely flawless. It's taken me a long time and many years of kind of trial and error, but I think I've finally perfected my routine, so I want to show you what it is. But before that, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you already haven't. I upload it twice a week and I would love to have you back on the channel. And without further ado, here we go. Okay guys, so before we jump straight into the routine, I wanted to talk to you about a product that I use when my under eye darkness is pretty bad. And it is this Eye Treat Spa Mask from Mask Bar. And it's basically like a gel mask, like one of those pads that you just stick under your eyes. You need to leave it on for about half an hour. And it honestly works so well. So when I have a special event or something kind of important and my under eye darkness is pretty bad that day, I tend to use these. They're basically kind of hydrating. They have vitamin E, I think. Yeah. They have vitamin A and E, sunflower seed oil, and phytocollagen. I've spoken about these in my favorites videos before, but basically these are really good because they really hydrate that area. The makeup goes on like a dream. I don't have my under eye area very dry, so for me that's not a big problem, kind of creasing and fine lines. But if you do, these work really well. But for me, the main thing is they really kind of diminish the under eye darkness. So I would strongly recommend these if you have under eye darkness, especially if you have a special occasion coming up. And without further ado, let's get straight into the makeup routine, so get ready to see my bare-faced in 3, 2, 1. Guys, I've only got my skincare, a little bit of primer and a little bit of foundation on at the moment. And today actually isn't the best day to film this, to be honest, because my dark circles are not too bad. And I think the light that I have right now, because I have lights on, because otherwise there's not enough light to film, they do kind of bounce the light off my face and they actually don't look as bad on camera as they look in real life. But basically they're kind of typically how they are in Asian skin, so they're kind of in between a brownish and a bluish greenish color. So not a very nice color. I'd say they're a little bit more on the brown side than on the purple side. Sorry, I'm looking down. I'm just looking at myself in the mirror to describe them properly. But basically, they're somewhere more on the brown side. And usually, if you have olive skin tones, this is what will tend to happen. If you have cooler skin tones, you're probably more on the bluish or kind of more purplish side of the spectrum of color. So I will talk about how to correct both, but obviously I can only show on myself what works on my skin. So the first product I use is a color corrector. I know that people think this color corrector thing is just like an Instagram trend. I was actually reading about this on Cosmopolitan today when I was getting my hair done. And it was all about, you know, how it's become kind of a bit gimmicky with Instagram, all these like color correcting, but they're actually techniques that were used by makeup artists for a long time. It's just that normal people just didn't know about them before Instagram happened. So, but color correcting does definitely help, guys. And the deal with color correcting is it should be kind of an orangish peachy color. The more orange or darker, it's better for darker skin tones or deeper skin tones. And the more kind of peachy colors are better for the lighter, cooler skin tones. Also, the cooler skin tones should make it a little bit more pinky as opposed to very orange. So more on the pinkier peachy side than on the orange peach side, if that makes any sense at all. I am using this Naked Skin Concealer by Urban Decay, and this one is in the color Peach. And I actually find that this is a little bit too light for my skin. My favorite for my kind of skin tone has got like a very yellow undertone, but it's more on the olive side. My favorite one is the YSL Touche Eclat, the corrector pen, which is like also in the color Peach or Apricot, I think. I will link it down below in the info box, and I have mentioned it in tutorials before, but that was just the perfect kind of orangey, peachy color for me. This one is a little bit too on the peachy, pinky side. It is good because it's very brightening, but I think this would work much better for a lighter skin tone and for maybe a cooler skin tone than mine. But anyway, we're going to go ahead with this. I like the texture because it's kind of quite thin, and I like the wand applicator. But basically what you want is with a color corrector, try and look for something with a thin consistency. Because if it has too much of a thick consistency, then it's not going to blend seamlessly. And this is not to cover anything up. This is simply to correct the color and to take that darkness away and brighten the area. So I'm going to go straight ahead, and I'm only going to apply this where I have darkness. I've done this like a million times on my tutorials, but you guys requested this, so here I am. So I'm just literally applying this where I have the darkness. And my darkness sort of goes all the way into my tear duct. So I'm going to put a little bit there and a little bit on the corner of my eye because that's kind of quite pigmented as well. And then I'm going to take it all the way because I have pigmentation all the way till there. Okay, so you can see where I've applied it there. I hope it's picking up well with this light. But then I'm just going to go in with my finger and just dab in the product. And like with everything in makeup, the key to making your dark circles disappear is to apply a significant amount of product if you need it, but most importantly, to work in thin layers. Otherwise it's going to look cakey, it's going to kind of slide off your face, and it's not a good look. As you can see, that's already brightened my complexion a lot. This area does look a bit orangey, but it's brightened my complexion a lot, and it's gotten rid of that kind of brownish color and darkness that I had under my eyes. It's just lifted the whole look a whole lot. What I do is that I find that if I then go straight in with like a brightening concealer, it doesn't sort of cover enough the darkness. I have a lot of darkness in this kind of hollow bit here because my eyes are quite hollow there, like they just kind of sink in, so it creates a shadow. So I like to then go in with my Clé de Peau concealer. This is my really kind of trusty full coverage concealer, but this one is amazing because basically, even though it's really full coverage, it's really buttery, it blends in really nicely, and it doesn't look cakey or heavy. So I use the color Ochre. Apparently this is Kim Kardashian's concealer, so I thought if it's good enough for Kim Kardashian, it's good enough for me. So I'm going to use this to just kind of go into the areas where I have the most amount of darkness. So that is kind of that line that goes all the way down here. And as you can see, this is kind of a little bit lighter than my skin tone, but just slightly. But it's not kind of peachy or pink or anything. A concealer with a yellow undertone so that it matches my skin. And I'm using this Shu Uemura concealer brush because I find that if I apply it straight from the bullet, it just applies too much product, and with this I just kind of pick up the exact amount of product that I need. I don't know if the camera is picking this up, but you can already see that it doesn't look thick at all. It doesn't dry your under eye area. It's amazing. I wanted to try the NARS one. They've come up with like a full coverage concealer, but I find that one really drying, and this one isn't drying at all. I'm also going to use this down the side of my nose because I'm using this to contour a little bit as well. But you don't have to do this to cover your under eye circles. I'm applying this in sort of an inverse triangle, sort of going from here all the way to the corner of my eye, because I want to just make this area sort of seamless and brightened, and I do have a few blemishes, so this is covering the blemishes as well. Okay, now to blend it in a little bit, I'm just going to go and tap in with my finger. And I find the finger's a really good way to do this because it sort of warms up the product and it just makes it mesh with your skin really well. Just kind of makes it look really seamless. I'm then going to go in with my beauty blender, but this is kind of just to do a fast blend. Okay, and finally I am going to brighten, and for that I'm going to use my trusty NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer. I love this one. I use the colour Custard. but obviously suit this to whatever your skin tone is. And I use this in a shade that's lighter to my other concealer that I've just used, the Clé de Peau one. So this one is just 1 shade lighter than my skin, and this one is 2 shades lighter probably than my skin tone. And I really love this concealer because it's super kind of illuminating and brightening. It just brings a glow. So I actually use this to highlight. And again, it's a doe foot applicator concealer. I love the wand, but I do find that it is kind of adding a little bit of coverage as well, because it is kind of quite thick in consistency, but I don't find it drying. If you do have super dry skin, it can be a little bit drying under the eyes. I did speak about this one in my NARS review video, so if you haven't watched that, I will link it on the screen now. Basically, my mum is kind of obviously older than me, so she finds it is a little bit drying under the eyes, but to be honest, if your skin's kind of normal to combination or oily obviously, then it's perfectly fine. And I really like this one. It adds a little bit of coverage. If you don't have as much kind of darkness underneath the eyes, you're probably fine with just this and the corrector. But if you do have a little bit more darkness somewhere, then definitely, you know, adding that extra layer definitely helps. So I'm going to go in with this one, and I'm going to apply this in an inverse triangle underneath my eyes. And this one is actually more to highlight than to cover. My darkness has already been covered, but this is just to kind of highlight the high points of my face. So I'm using this down the center of my nose as well. And I'm taking this all the way up the sides of the nose, because that's going to help me contour my nose as well. And as you can see, this adds loads of luminosity to your face. Okay, and now I'm just going to go in with fingers and blend this out, just to again mesh the product nicely with my skin. And now I'm going to go in with my damp beauty blender, and I'm just going to kind of use this, bounce it off my face to kind of make the product blend in completely with my skin so that it looks absolutely seamless. Okay, now to set everything in place, just because we've applied quite a lot of product and you don't want everything to move, I'm going to use the Laura Mercier Secret Camouflage, no, what is it called? Secret Brightening Powder for under the eyes. So this is like a very finely milled white powder. I don't know how well the camera is picking that up. But basically, what I do is I just put a little bit on the lid. And then I'm going to take my damp beauty blender, and I'm going to take this side, the tip, which is clean. It doesn't have any kind of product on it because I use the other side to blend. And I'm going to dip this into the powder, and then I'm just going to apply this underneath my eyes. This is going to help really brighten that area because this is a brightening powder. But it's also going to help the product set so that it doesn't budge, it doesn't crease, and it doesn't move, because obviously we've put quite a lot of product there, so it's easy for the product to just kind of crease or move throughout the day. So this is going to make sure that it kind of locks in place and it doesn't move at all. Okay, once this has been applied, you can leave it on for as long as you want. If you wanted to kind of soak in the oils of your face even more, you can leave it on for longer, but I don't like to leave it on for very long because I find it just dries too much underneath my eyes. So I'm just going to take a clean brush and I'm going to dust it all off. I've applied this onto the other areas of my face where I'd applied my brightening concealer, because this will help brighten and set. And there you go, my under eyes look absolutely flawless, like if I've never had under eyes darkness at all. So I'm going to go finish my face and I'll be back to show you the final result. Okay guys, so this is the final look. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was useful. Please do let me know in the comments below if there are any other questions or queries you have about this, or if there are any other kind of specific makeup videos that you would like to see. Please do let me know. I love to hear from you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!